Okay. All right, we'll call to order the regular meeting, the Greater Boca Raton Beach and Park District on January 21st.
Commissioner Ernst,
Here.
Commissioner Engel,
Here.
Commissioner Rollins.
Here.
Commissioner Vogelsang.
Here.
Commissioner Wright.
Here. Okay, any changes to the agenda? Nope. Public requests. If anybody has anything tonight, please state your name and your address, and you have 3 minutes.
Is it on? My name is Harold Chaffee, 6200 Northwest Second Avenue. I want to wish everybody a happy, we haven't been here in a while. And I just want to thank everybody for all the concerns and prayers for my wife. All right. I want to talk about a couple of different things. One was basically, also want to tell you that I think you're doing a great job, really do. You know, that the things that you have on the agenda to do are challenging, but they're very well needed. I want to talk about, I guess, the Jeffrey Street, which has always been on our mind. You know, the last time that the city did any kind of a request for information or even some, whatever they require, the study was done way before the city ever approved the park. So the railroad, even if they were in touch with the railroad, they still don't know that a park has been approved. Prior to this, it was just a hearsay. But since it has been approved, you need to let the city know, or basically the railroad know that there is a park going to be built there. You know, and that they would create quite a hazard if they did that. Let's see, there was something else I forgot. I'm really getting bad. Don't laugh. She loves to hear me talk. Anyway, just want to thank everybody what they're doing. Let me see, I wrote it down. Let me see where they're taking me. Hold on. I'm trying to get efficient, but it's really bad. Oh, about the you know, the amount of you bought the Boca Chica property, the old golf course, it was 210 acres, which is a lot of land. But the way that the city is developing in like Brick and all the other places, you know, you know, the land that you have is well needed as far as parks. You start developing and putting things on the land that you have here. It's more or less, it's almost like you had forethought, but we really didn't. But now that we see what these people are doing over a period of years, you're not going to have any place. There's got to be like 5,000, 6,000 apartment houses. You know, besides congestion, you know, you need parks. Some of and some of these pocket parks, you may even see disappear if they aren't being utilized. You know, put housing on to sell 3Ps, who knows what they'll do. But I'm just saying you should basically just always remember that there should be, you know, there should be a, you know, green space. All right, thank you very much.
Thanks, Harold.
Hello, Robert Duquette, 5351 Northwest 3rd Terrace. First of all, I want to, again, thank you for preserving the green space in the Boca Chica North Park area. And I don't know if all of you saw, but at the last city council meeting, there was a city councilman who suggested that the Beach and Park District give the land that you don't own in your title right now in that area to the city. That was Commissioner or Councilman Widger made that comment at the end of the last meeting. I can tell you that based upon the information I have seen and you have certainly seen, I'm not for sure if that's within your power to give the land to the city under your charter. And of course, after seems like 20 years of trying to preserve this land, we certainly don't want to see the city possibly build on it like they are in their downtown area, which is going to be a traffic nightmare. So again, I don't know if you saw that, but again, the residents would certainly like to keep a green space. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Art Turple, 19155 Fairlawn Way, representing Soccer Association, Boca Raton. I want to thank the commissioners for moving promptly and getting the sugar scene covering that's on the agenda again today to talk about. And, you know, the planning sometimes takes longer than the construction. So I appreciate moving this along. Just if for information, it looks like we're going to lose the entire week this week because of rain. And so it's an example of why it's so important to get it covered. We're in the dry season, and any little bit of rain takes it out for the entire day. So thank you for moving this along, and hopefully we can get out of the planning stage and into the construction stage as soon as possible. Thank you.
Thanks, Art. Hi, I'm Linda Morgenstern, and from 1124 Parkside Circle North. And for context and for full disclosure, I serve as a director on the HOA board of Parkside along with Commissioner Craig Ernst, where we agree on the direction of the community most of the time. I wanted to offer also kudos to all of you for the great work you've done in expanding the use of the beaches, the parks, and sport over the years. I live right next to Sugar Sand Park, so I see it with my own eyes. And my purpose today is to share some information and ask some questions. As you know, the sport of pickleball continues to grow exponentially in US and Canada. You have skillfully arranged to expand the number of indoor and outdoor pickleball courts across Boca in Patch Reef, Boca Chica, et cetera. I'm not sure if this commission is aware of the more than 500 lawsuits in the US that have been initiated by homeowners who have been bombarded by the nuisance noise that pickleball creates. In addition to driving homeowners to seek legal recourse, against their HOAs, the developers, and the cities, it's also driven them to sell their homes prematurely at decreased values, as well as having to seek medical relief and emotional therapy. We're experiencing this in our own community of Parkside, where tennis courts were converted into pickleball courts less than 100 feet from residents' property lines. This is the case across the country. And the town of Nantucket, Massachusetts, actually drafted a bylaw outlawing pickleball on the island. It's not just decibels. Even if they do exceed the 50 to 55 decibels in the Boca Code, it's the timbre, the frequency, the pitch, which all work together to create that cacophony of pickleball noise. The impulsive pop sound generated by plastic pickleballs against wooden paddles lands right in the human's most sensitive hearing range, which is why it's so intrusive and disturbing. It's also referred to as pops per minute. So it's incessant. The New York Times, Sun Sentinel, Boca papers have all continued to follow these stories. Doesn't paint a pretty picture. So for the questions now, as part of the proposals are for these Boca Chica and for Boca Paddle, are the developers going to be required to do a sound analysis by a qualified accredited sound engineer to ensure there'll be no noise pollution created by the players? I don't know. I've never done this before, so I don't know if you answer my questions or you just sort of take them away. Yeah, usually we don't have a back and forth during public comment.
Gotcha.
Okay.
And are we requiring them to provide measurements confirming that residences are no closer than 800 to 1,000 feet from the courts? And in fact, this also applies to the park spaces. Park visitors are there to hear the birds and the trees rustle. And how will that many players impact their experience? So my belief is Boca has an opportunity here to set a standard in this regard. I consider what's happening in my own backyard as a missed opportunity to show empathy and respect for all neighbors equally. Let's set the example in Boca Parks to fully evaluate nuisance sound creation so we don't have to backtrack with sound mitigation lawsuits, which are expensive and time consuming. And thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Hey, anybody else for public requests? No? Okay, we'll go ahead and close public requests and do approval of the minutes of the previous board meeting held on January 6th.
Move to approve.
Second,
Commissioner Ernst,
yes.
Commissioner Engel,
Yes.
Commissioner Rollins,
Yes.
Commissioner Vogelsang,
Yes.
Commissioner Wright.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
Okay, moving on to regular business. The first item is the multi-sport rink shade cover conceptual design discussion.
Commissioners, on page 6 of your agenda packets is just a brief memo. At the last meeting, we were asked to look into the costs of option one, which was selected by the board at the last meeting, if we extended the roof and the walkways around it by instead of 8 feet, go 12 feet. So we've looked at that and we've done a reanalysis of the costs. I know my memo, I apologize, it's a little vague, as Commissioner Ernst pointed out. So I just want to give you some of those numbers and where that change comes from. So originally we thought about $3 million for option number one, and that's gone to $3.5 million now. And the major increase comes from changing out the paneling into the windscreens. The windscreens are actually more expensive. So that's 300,000 of the cost. And the other 200,000 comes from extending the roof and the sidewalks. So that's concrete expenses and the roof. So we're looking at $3.5 million in costs for the building. And then we tack on 15% of that for construction costs. Those are the, mobilization fees, materials increases and things like that that are charged in management of the project. Most of our projects are typically an additional 15%. So we just use that number. So we're looking at about $4 million in total if we go with the project with the extended roof and walkways. And for the bulk of that cost comes from the windscreens. I mean, you're looking at another 200,000 to make those walkways wider. And I think that would be important for people that are visiting and even parents that are there. If they want to walk around outside and not get, if it is inclement weather or something like that, they can get their exercise in while their kids are playing and things like that. So it may be worth extending the roof and walkways, as Commissioner Ernst pointed out.
I have a question.
Yes,
So you're saying instead of the paneling, we're doing the
windscreens.
windscreens. Would we save money by doing the paneling and doing the 12 feet? And then if we need to add something for rain at that point, we could?
Yeah, I mean, the paneling is going to prevent the rain intrusion just like probably more than the windscreen would. But
Right,
but the difference between the windscreen and the paneling was about 300,000. Windscreen is more expensive.
The windscreen was more expensive than the panels?
Correct.
And the panels don't go all the way up.
There's ventilation between the wall and those and above, and then you have the fans circulating too. But with that, it would probably be a 5-degree increase in temperature.
What if we just do a normal rink surround
Mhm.
with the 12-foot overhang?
I think you should still put up windscreens to help with some of the water.
And then we can see how it goes with the rain. And then we can add windscreens if we need them.
Well, we have to design, like if we're gonna design with the footers need to be stronger because you're gonna put more weight on the building if you do the paneling instead of the windscreen. So the idea was to bid it with the windscreen and then have the add alternate as the paneling. So we could get the bid option either way. But if we ended up going with the paneling, they would have to just add another design as how those will be installed into the roof, because the bid will have the specs to install the mesh.
Would changes in the construction, would that add cost onto the construction to add for the panels as opposed to the windscreen, or is? Is
No,
that
like the materials and the 15% increase is still, it'll be less if we did the paneling instead of the
Yeah,
windscreen.
and that's inclusive of whatever additional materials we need to hold the paneling.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
If we did the extended overhang
Mhm.
with the caveat to have the windscreens put in at a later time, if it doesn't seem to work out, that,
We could do that.
I mean, they could put whatever
It'll be designed,
how they adhere them.
designed to install the windscreen, but you don't have to install the windscreen right away. You could see how it goes.
Would
We could do
save
that.
us?
About 300,000, yeah.
Okay.
And we're saying the panels are less expensive than the windscreen?
That's correct.
I thought it was the opposite. I'm
What I'd be concerned about is the functionality of it, being that we're in the tropics where we get a lot of rain, blowing rain.
Mhm.
I don't know how effective windscreens are against that type of,
You won't, you'll still have water
right.
intrusion.
and which then kind of defeats the purpose of us having, covering the property. And the panels are only going to increase the temperature inside by 5 degrees.
Because the ventilation and the fans that are in there, That's the guesstimate is about 5-degree difference.
Are you still gonna have fans in there?
Yes, the fans are staying as part of the design.
Yeah. Well, I think the idea is to do the best we can to prevent, weather events that shut down the use of the facility. I mean, that's been the complaint, whether it's moisture in the morning or in which the fans will help with relieve that, I think.
Mhm.
But, with the rain being driven, I would still think that paneling would be the best option for us to consider in terms of more playability. And I think that's what everybody's saying is that, we continue to be shut down, in times like this where the weather is such that, it's unplayable conditions. So, I would be supporting the panels, to be quite honest, much more so than the windscreens.
Okay,
I do like the extension of the roof, though. I would support that.
so we're,
Neither.
everybody agrees the extension of the roof for okay. So now we're on panels and mesh.
So I guess just to kind of recap it is, the goal of the roof being a little extended was to make it so it made sure greater cover, less rain. And that extended to the sidewalks, which is a bonus because now you can walk around. So I think we're all in on that. What you mentioned though is that the panels will require maybe a stronger footer.
We were
that-
gonna design it that
When's-
way anyway.
I think you want to do the stronger footer anyway.
That was
to-
the plan.
So you give us flexibility. So
Yes.
design for either panel or windscreen so that you can do either one. And then let's postpone that. Let's price it out as we go to when we need to do it, but with the goal of doing it right the way we want it the first time.
Okay.
Is
Is that
that
the form
okay?
of a motion, Commissioner?
So just for clarification, we're all on board with extending, but we're not gonna have we're not doing any panels or mesh at this point.
We intend to, we just need more information when they get closer to construction, design form,
Okay.
either.
It will be a little bit different to design for the installation into the top part, so that's a little additional cost. Do we want to have the two different schematics done now and bid it that way, or we could just do it as a verbal description and have it bid that way too? It's however you want to do it. But there could be a change order down the road if we design it for panels and we end up going with windscreen, there may be some changes to the design after it's been bid out. And that would be just a small little change order along the way, just giving a heads up in advance. It's on record, the change order is coming.
What worries me about postponing is construction costs as things in California get, ramped up with what they're doing out there. What's going to happen with our construction costs if we could nail it down?
Well, we've seen what happens with windscreens here when there's hurricanes, things like that. The panels will be they'll be sturdier and certainly better at protecting from rain. So we could design it that way and maybe easier to, if you decide not to go with paneling, to just add the windscreen down the road.
So going back then, panels are a little bit more difficult because they have to enclose the whole thing. And
Well, not enclosed because you're gonna have ventilation on the top
ventilation.
and bottom. Yep.
but so but the panels themselves are, what should I say, is less costly to put in,
Yes.
less of a footer,
More of a footer.
more of a footer.
They're heavier to hang.
Okay.
But we're designing for a heavier footer anyway. We're doing that
Okay,
anyway.
good. So you go with the heavier footer anyway. So to address Susie's concern, is it possible to do both of them? Or to get a quote for both?
We can do it. We have to design for both though, just for the installation of them. That would have to be in the bid spec so that whoever's bidding it can bid it accurately. Otherwise, we may end up with a change order.
Right, can they just do two bids, one for the,
But we're paying for an additional design component. I just want to make
Right.
everybody aware of
Right.
that. Okay.
I think you might want to do it, Susie, just to really make sure we make the right decision, because I do think it's kind of these are cats and dogs and what we're deciding,
Sure.
and it's a heat factor, I think we've eliminated some of the rain coming in there just by making it a little bit bigger, but the windscreen, and then you get into, when you put a wind or panel, I'm thinking hurricane on heavy wind. So which one is gonna hold up the best so it all doesn't blow away? And when you put a panel up, that's a little tougher than a windscreen, I would think, just from a
But couldn't
hurricane.
the windscreens be taken down during a hurricane?
We take them down at the tennis courts.
Yeah.
I don't know how easy it's gonna be to get up there and take them down necessarily, but obviously we would try it depending on the time frame.
So,
It's a tough call.
yeah, I'd say just get more information from the engineer and with design for both.
Designed for both.
Yeah.
Are the panels Miami-Dade code rated when they're installed in terms of hurricanes?
The building will be built to that way. I don't know what those panels are rated
Right.
specifically, but we would focus on getting all that, all that would meet that code. And they'd also have a UV coating to help with the temperature too. I didn't mention that earlier.
So I think your motion was to design with both.
I was backing off your motion, so. Yeah.
So Craig, why don't you
Oh,
go ahead?
Okay, so I'll make a motion to proceed with the additional cost to design for both. And then we'll design for both, but pick one at the later date.
And to approve extending the roof to 12
And
feet.
approve extending the roof for 12 feet and the sidewalk surrounding it, which we think is going to cost an additional 500,000
Second,
Today, that's the estimate.
Today.
Yes, I just want to clarify.
estimated today. Could be less.
One more. I think that's it.
Okay, we have a second. Any more
I'd second
discussion?
that, yeah.
I got. Okay, so Commissioner Ernst,
Yes.
Commissioner Engel,
Yes.
Commissioner Rollins.
Yes.
Commissioner Vogelsang,
Yes,
Commissioner Ray.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
Okay, moving on to item 2, the Jeffrey Street North Park safety.
Commissioners, on page 7 of your agenda packets is a memo kind of highlighting where we were with that. And just moving forward, I reached out for more information from the city, but have not gotten that. And Mr. Lukasik said he would get back to me this week to answer some of my questions just about environmental impacts and their timeline on the project. You know, during the site plan process for North Park, we were told in order to obtain site plan approval, we would need to agree to put the tunnel in on Jeffrey. And that protects obviously the park goers who are crossing Jeffrey. But I did ask for clarification about what's being done outside of the park on that roadway when it's installed to protect pedestrians. But again, that's all information that they said they would get to me this week. So I don't have any new information, so I didn't know if we wanted to wait till we have that before we discuss any kind of formal resolution or opposition to it and find out where the city is on the project, if there is a timeline, or if it's been fully approved by the different agencies that have to approve it. We don't really have any of that information yet.
I mean, I went to the public meeting that they had on this, and they said it wasn't a done deal, the city. So I'm not sure if they're still waiting on approvals and things like that. I don't know. So I mean, I think we need more information for sure before we move forward on anything else. That's my opinion.
But we may need more information, but I'm terribly opposed to the idea of a crossing there, you know,
Right.
whether we get, I mean, I think had a resolution. Did we have a resolution before, Brianne?
We did, we wrote one up and then we decided to wait because
That's right.
there wasn't a lot of information, and then there's a new city leadership taking over, so we were waiting to see how it played out during the site plan process and try to get information. And all we got during the site plan process was that it was a project on the books and they were working on it, and we needed a plan for the tunnel, but we don't have any acknowledgement from the city that it's been approved by all the agencies that have to approve it.
Well, I think our position would be stronger if we knew what their position was. But then I would strongly oppose any efforts to open that up, you know, to a crossing across the railroad tracks and inside of our park just for the safety reason. And I don't know. We've been talking about this for as long as I can remember, that crossing was going to go in there, and it hasn't happened. But I don't know about the different, you know, like the city council may want to do that, but have they consulted with the railroad entities that control those crossings, other than what you've been told that if they open that up, then they've got to close 2 others. We've heard that, and which 2?
Only one other.
Only one other.
Yeah.
And whether it's 1 or 2, I'm still opposed to having that kind of traffic go through the middle of our park just for the safety of our residents and having the expense of having to put a tunnel in there in order to facilitate that crossing. To me, I would vote against that or in support of that resolution every day of the week. So, but if you want to wait till we get some more information, I'm certainly want to do that.
It's up to everybody on, in terms of what you want to do at this point. So,
You need a motion?
Before you
Or-
do, maybe we
just-
have a little discussion. I mean, what I heard from the city prior was the interest was to go have an east-west corridor because of, safety from a fire perspective. And I don't know if that's still the case.
Not since the Tri-Rail lit that fire truck.
Well, that's a different issue, yeah. It was a Brightline, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was Brightline.
Brightline took that
Right.
one out, but
Yeah.
there's no question that a crossing in a park is not a recipe for wellness. So I concur with that. But I really do think we need some level of information of why they're so interested in doing this. And there is some other aspect of the life safety on the other side of it, of why they're doing it, as well as traffic. I mean, the bottom line is, Boca Raton has grown into a bigger city and there's more traffic. And so it's an east-west corridor and it's on Second Avenue, one way or another. I'm not the traffic engineer specifying. I just want to find out why they're so interested in doing this. Before, and even if we do stand up and say no, what is that going to do? What are we going to get out of that other than we said no?
Well, and, if we started early enough, to maybe deflect that.
Yeah.
I don't know that, having 4 lanes, I guess that's what they're talking about through the park and through the other side, because they're probably gonna go 4 lanes on the east side of all the way to Federal Highway, I would guess, which is going to result in some, inconvenience for those folks that have businesses on either side of it in Federal Highway. As it is, Second Avenue is in the morning is,
Tough.
Aaron drives that. I do that sometimes and it's difficult to get through there. I think adding more traffic, especially if with whatever designs happen on the west side, that, we're going to put a lot of traffic in that area, which I would say that would be another reason not to make that crossing, because we'd have enough cars coming into that community as it is without having cars whizzing through the area. But I have no problem waiting, Madam Chair, till we get some more information, but I would say that let's put the pin in it, because we've been asking for this for some time and don't seem to be getting any more than just silence from those folks that are pushing this project. So I'd hope that the next time, as soon as we can, we have an answer from the city. And also the thing I'd want to know, and they probably should have an answer about from the which railroad crossings they plan to close, which one it's going to be. And it's probably going to be the one in front of the tire store.
it is.
But then again, those folks that have kids in that community on the other side ride their bicycles across there to the Boca, that middle school. over
J.C.
there.
Mitchell
Yeah,
Elementary,
J.C.
yeah.
Mitchell. Yeah, so I mean, it just, to me, I see more negatives than positive about.
Well, and that's what I didn't get from the meeting is basically what you said, Craig, is why they're doing it. We didn't get that answer at the meeting, why they're doing it. All the business people were out there saying they didn't want that closing. But they said this has been in their plan since like the 1950s, because Clintmore has always been a plan to be a major artery for a long, long time. I think it was the 50s, a long, long time. And so, and they were looking at which ones to close, and Hidden Valley was also another one that they were thinking of closing as well, but they kind of took that off the plate and they only have to do one. They said one or more. So the one that's really, really short from Dixie Highway to Second Avenue where the tire store is was the one that they have decided on, I guess. Not decided on, but that's the one they were discussing the most. So, but again, I think the analysis was done before the park was planned. So would that be taken into account if they did an additional analysis at this point, knowing that there's going to be a park there? Would they be willing to do that? I mean, with with all the train issues happening, wouldn't they want to reanalyze the situation based on the fact that there will be a park there?
One of my questions to the city was about the park and the impacts both to the environment and to the traffic there, with the fact that there's going to be a park there. So I don't know if they've done anything, but that's what I'm waiting to hear back about.
This would be a great topic if we were able to get a joint meeting with city council, no? Maybe we can ask them that now
Would end up at the same place.
Yeah.
with no answer.
No answer,
No answer.
no answer.
Well, the glass is half full, right? You never know.
So
Brianne,
let's,
who are you contacting at the FEC?
I didn't. I reached out to the city because it's their project. I wanted to find out where they were with everything. I didn't reach
Well,
out to the E
Mr.
FEC.
Mr. Chaffee made a really good point that the FEC may be totally unaware that we're doing a park there.
Okay.
so to Brianne, to Aaron's point, I heard about that when I first got on the commission some time ago, about that road going through, and it just seemed like a pipe dream, years ago, and I don't know that it's any closer today than it was back then, although there's more conversation about it. But I think as Sue said and Aaron said, is that it was designed, concept was brought forward before we thought there it was just a golf course there. And so now that we're talking about a park, that's a different scenario. So maybe the FC Railroad would have different thoughts about it.
I'll reach out to them.
And I believe, if I may, that we have a contact person there we reached out to when we were looking at this issue for the district about 2 years ago or so.
Okay,
We'll pull
perfect.
out, we did a memo, as I recall. We'll pull that
Okay.
again as well. We may have some information that will assist.
Just to throw my 2 cents in for whatever it's worth. The city decided that this was that Jeffrey Street was going to be a 4-lane road, which is an invitation to more traffic just by itself. It's an invitation to faster traffic just by itself. And now they want to put a grade crossing in, which is an invitation to disaster by itself. From A to Z, the whole idea that the city has put forth makes no sense to me. If they're gonna do something like this, they need to have some kind of speed control, whether it's traffic circles or what is called speed bumps, but really are slow bumps. But things that will slow, traffic slowing devices. And if they're really interested in making this an east-west corridor, they need, instead of having a grade crossing there, put in an overpass or a cut. Because eventually, at the rate Boca is growing, you can't have nothing but grade crossings all the way up and down the railroad rights of way. What's going to happen, and I hope to God it doesn't, but we're going to get a major hurricane, and at the same time, we're going to get one of those 120-car freight trains stuck. And then nobody gets out of any place east of the railroad rights of way. They're going to have to come to that realization. That's just my 2 cents. I think this whole project from A to Z is the wrong move by the city.
Okay, so our end result is that we're gonna wait to get more information from the city and then discuss it at the next meeting, yes?
Yes.
Add it as an agenda item?
Yeah.
Because they should have the information to us this week. So, okay.
I think Jake volunteered to do some follow-up.
And
too.
follow
Yeah,
up with
we
the
we
FCC.
will, yeah. I just resent our prior memorandum to Brianne to do some additional homework. We do have some information there and we're happy to work with her further on the item.
Perfect. Okay, approval of payroll and invoices, Craig.
Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion for approval of payroll and invoices in the amount of $3,010,306.34.
Second,
Commissioner Ernst,
Yes.
Commissioner Engel,
Yes.
Commissioner Rollins.
yes.
Commissioner Vogelsang,
Yes.
Commissioner Wright.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
Okay, reports and discussion items, Executive Director.
Commissioners, just a reminder that the ribbon cutting that was slated for next week at the maintenance building was canceled. We're still waiting on a rescheduling for that event. As you guys may have seen, the city council will be hearing proposals for the downtown campus master plan next week
Monday.
during that time. Yes. last week, we did receive an unsolicited proposal for the development of North Park with recreational amenities. We have not responded to that. We will discuss this proposal at our next meeting on February 3rd. Just a few project updates. The pickleball project, I don't know if anybody's been out to Patch Reef, but the roofing, it's going up. There's roofing being done, painting, the downspouting is in progress. They're prepping the asphalt pour for the courts. Obviously, the rain is going to back up the progress, but they keep plugging away. The playground at Patch Reef is also moving along. They're working on installing some of the infrastructure for the splash pad, the restroom framing, roofing, plumbing, and electrical work is all in progress there. The pool resurfacing is also underway. They've been moving along with that project. And then the columns at Sugar Sand Park, most of that will be completed this week, and then we'll just have some punch list items remaining. And so that project will be finishing up ahead of schedule. We also received the appraisal for Ocean Strand, and I'll let Mr. Horowitz discuss that with regard to the lift station. And that's all I have.
Okay, District Council.
And just to follow up quickly on two Brianne's items. One, she did mention the unsolicited proposal that came in last week. We're still digesting that item along with Brianne. You may recall back in 2021, our office prepared a legal memorandum to the district outlining the public-private partnership requirements set out under state law. There have been a number of changes to the statute since that time. The statute was amended in 2022, and then again, this most recent session in 2024. So we're also going to update our legal memorandum to reflect those statutory changes, just to make sure that we have a full understanding of some of the recent legislative action and how it may impact that proposal, if at all. The other item I was going to mention was the appraisal that was received for the Ocean Strand easement area.
Clarification, Jake, regarding the unsolicited proposal, just from a process perspective, and as others may be interested, if someone comes in and presents a proposal on our land in which we are under development with, do we have to open it up to the rest of the community, or just explain what
Yeah,
that
sure.
exact process is? If someone said they got a great idea and
Yeah.
as they did.
And as the short answer is it depends. And the statute provides some options.
Okay.
One of those options is to put a solicitation out on the street to allow others who may be interested in offering a similar or a competing proposal to have the opportunity to do that. If alternatively, the district wanted to move forward with the proposal in its current form or close to its current form, one of the changes to the statute does allow a public agency to move forward with a proposal without going out on the street, subject to certain conditions. Requires certain public hearings, requires certain analyses done by your professional staff, that certain elements under the statute have been satisfied. Those are the things that we're in the process of reviewing. So the answer is, if we want to move forward with a proposal, you've got some options. One of them may be inviting other proposals to consider. And again, if the proposal that was received is viable and significant enough that it warrants moving forward as proposed or in some near form, there may be some opportunities to do that as well. Again, it came in last week. We're currently reviewing it along with some of the recent changes to the statute to make sure that all of the rights of both the proposer and others who may be interested are properly protected.
So, I mean, the fact that it came in for this group is kind of transformative. I mean, in a sense that someone is asking to develop an area that's a large tract of land. And, you know, we have always operated in a very much a transparent nature, and it's taken us a long time to get this far. Just with the 80 acres or so. I think it might be beneficial, to authorize Brianne to talk to the city a bit more about, someone mentioned the city councilman suggested signing over the west side or not. I have no pretext of knowledge, but we all know that we need to do something on the west side of Second Avenue. And we should probably get going on it because it takes a long time to get it happening. And the city has a lot of things in play too, with whether they're doing this downtown development or not. But I think it would be very worthwhile for a more detailed conversation for allowing Brianne to move forward.
I actually have a meeting scheduled with George Brown on January 31st to talk about the recreation master plan and the elements that are downtown. So we'll discuss that.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's a key component to anything we do before we move forward is that recreation master plan. Because we need to plan for what our future needs are going to be. not the least of which is a major field house in some part of our park. But I think without some planning, it would be just hodgepodge, just putting things out there. And I think that by doing our due diligence with that master plan, I think we'll come up with a better utilization of that part of the property.
Are we required to publish the unsolicited proposal?
We are not.
Okay.
No. But it is a public record.
So the public could have access to it if they ask for a
Upon request, yeah, that's correct.
Okay, anything else?
Yes, the other item I was going to mention that Brianne also alluded to, the board may recall that last month we were authorized and directed to pursue and obtain an appraisal for the easement area over on the Ocean Strand. Last week, I think on the Thursday or Friday last week, Brianne circulated a copy of the appraisal that was prepared by the Urban Group, which does a significant analysis as to the potential value of the easement parcel. We now have that, and with that appraisal, which we're currently reviewing along with Brianne, we've not yet had another conversation with the developer applicant who expressed an interest in pursuing some opportunity for that easement. The next step would be to go back and have some further conversation with that developer before there's anything to bring back to the board by way of a recommendation from your professional staff. But we do have the appraisal that the board authorized and directed last week. You should all have received a copy of that as well. Just wanted to let the record reflect. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you. Commissioners, Susie.
Okay, well, we've started top soccer and the Sugar Sand Park staff has been very responsive and wonderful for us. I do have a question, Brianne, about the status of the traffic garden that we're going to build.
They're working on going through permitting now for that asphalt, to lay that. So I worked with All County last week and they were submitting that. I'll follow up to see how far they are with that, with my connection.
Thank you.
Nothing. Okay, Greg.
I would ask us to consider, really for Brianne, as we get into the next budget cycle, to take a closer look at the non-resident rates that are charged for sports. As I've heard from a couple different people about just the cost of it. And I'm just kind of wondering if, are we achieving the goal that we want? I mean, I'm all for kids playing and soccer, or whether it's rugby, any of these sports, and kind of, we're here to offset some of that cost. And I want to make sure that we have a say in the rates that are being charged for organized sports so that we can encourage it, because not all organized sports are going to have city residents. And as the city becomes less affordable, I think you're going to need more non-residents. And I think these are really good programs to foster, so our kids are kind of grown out of it, but I think it's something we need to monitor carefully. So when we come to that June summary of rates, I think I'd really like us to take a closer look at that and see where it's maybe grown. And I know, Bob, you've had some thoughts on that in the past for that. So.
Okay. Steve.
Where I read your mind before about a joint meeting. Any progress on it? Are we hearing back? I mean,
Well, we stopped scheduling because we were working through some, like the recreation master plan. So we wanted to work all that out and then have a joint meeting with everybody together, once that was planned out, so that you guys could sit together and all agree with staff on everything.
I'm going to go into rehearsal for Kumbaya.
Perfect.
And on this unsolicited proposal, will we be getting any detail on it at the next meeting? Or has there been any detail given to you aside from broad strokes?
Only the proposal that you guys received. If you have additional questions that you want to send to me, I'm happy to reach out to them and get those questions answered before we talk about it.
Also might add that an individual in Boca reached out to me about feasibility about building a sporting facility in Boca, not necessarily on district property, but just in general. We went back and forth on a meeting time, but I haven't heard anything. I just want to make it public that I have been contacted and have by email, spoken with this individual.
Okay.
And other than that, welcome back, Barbara. It's so good to see you. And that's it.
Okay, yeah, I mean, I think maybe if we try to aim for like April, because if we get into summertime for a joint meeting, they're gonna say it's summertime, we can't do it. So then we're looking like to the fall. So maybe they can squeeze this in April. It is the centennial and we are a sponsor of the centennial, right? So maybe they'll,
I just want to make sure that we have enough to make it a productive meeting where there's like a resolution to it. If we have the master plan ready to go,
Mhm.
or where the recreational, like if there's things downtown that have to move into other parks and things like that, I just want to have it all ironed out before you guys sit so that there's actual something to.
yeah, I know, but like
Agreed.
waiting again for them to
Brianne said it exactly right. And we talked about this before, having staff to staff try to work these things out so that we can work our way toward that consensus. Otherwise, it's like the ones that we've had so far have been just like we end up spending
it
2
just
hours.
feels like we're just waiting and waiting and waiting.
I will target that date to get that information, but I have to I need the city to also work with that same timeline,
Right.
but I will work on getting it all done by then. so
They
we
just
can
seem to be, not accessible, which. I don't know. Okay, that's it. That's all I had, so.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
That was great.
Commissioner Ernst,
Yes.
Commissioner Engel,
Yes.
Commissioner Rollins.
Yes.
Commissioner Vogelsang.
Yes.
Commissioner Wright.
Yes,
Motion passed.
we are adjourned.